Good evening, America, and good afternoon, Australia. Welcome to everyone listening from Russia, Germany, and the UK, and of course, anyone listening to this live stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. Thank you for listening to us today. We have Peo ready and waiting online to answer any of your questions and send you any links that relate to the show today. Just don't forget that you can review the shows, re-watch the shows on Binge TV USA, on Hero Go TV USA, and on the Toni TV channel app on all LG, Roku, and Samsung smart TVs across the world. I'm really excited to be here today. It's wonderful to be working with TRACIE EATON, and this is the third in our series of shows, and we've got an incredible amount of stuff to get through today. But before I introduce the gorgeous TRACIE, I want you to know TRACIE is an Australian modern artist, and even though she was born in New Zealand, she has made Australia her home since 2006 and has become quickly one of Australia's highly coveted artists, and her work is in demand all over the world. She has an exclusive commission to create the artworks for the nominees at the Academy Awards and has done so for the last 3 years. TRACIE's artwork projects span across both commercial and residential sectors. Whether you're open to an original custom artwork, or you want to add it to your personal collection, or you want to create a unique atmosphere in your hotel or office, TRACIE is passionate about creating artworks that bring your vision to life. Investing in a piece of art is a big decision. Your new painting is something that you should love. And TRACIE's passionate about ensuring that when you commission her to paint your artwork, your series of artwork, your large project, that it becomes not only a statement, but a reflection of you, something that you can tell the story of, something that resonates with you and your brand, and something that is part of your journey. So later on in the show, we will be unveiling the next stage of our commissioned artwork. But before we do that, welcome back to the show, TRACIE. I'm delighted once again to be embarking on this creative journey with you. I can't imagine doing it with anyone else. And it's wonderful that we get to chat each week about your art, because I've just discovered how much I enjoy art once more, and that's a good thing. So I thought before we talk about the tools of the trade, which is what we're scheduled to talk about this week, I wanted to highlight something that makes you really unique and produces that divinely special art that you create. And that's about your ability to tap into the soul of the client for the project that you're creating. Have you always had an intuition around your art, or has it taken time to develop? Because I know from just our little process, it's an incredibly intuitive process. And it's like you're tapping into my soul and my likes and my values and combining that and putting it all on the canvas. So has it always been there?
Firstly, hello, good morning, afternoon, evening to everybody around the place. Amazing introduction, thank you. I have always been very much an intuitive person, so I think that, and you look back historically to everything that I've done, particularly when I did the occupational therapy and I was using art then, that empathy, I guess, for other people has always been there. So I've always had an ability to feel in a way where people are at, and make people feel good. I've had so many comments over the years about how I can spend an hour with someone and I walk away and they feel $1 million. And I'm like, that's an amazing gift. And that's something I think that's always been me.
Definitely.
So when it came to painting and art, you're dead right. It was pretty obvious, I guess, that was going to be the case for me, and it came naturally. It's not something I've had to work to do or to forcefully try and do. It is what I am. In saying that, though, I think that if you talk to most artists, I would suggest to you that they, whether it be musicians, writers, it doesn't matter, or visual artists, there would be a level of intuitiveness in all of us, because that essentially is, I think, what helps us to be creative. Because I was writing down some notes this morning, and I was thinking about creativity and how as adults particularly we forget how to play. We think that playing is not something that we should be doing. We need to be more responsible and serious than that. And creative people, and I will have to say visual artists because that's what I know.
Yes.
We play. Like I don't know all the time necessarily. What if I chuck something on here? What happens if I put that next to that? So it's just about really immersing yourself in that process. And part of playing is all about intuition as well. So you're following your gut, you're following your instinct, and you're not thinking. You're not overthinking it.
Yeah.
And I think working with people, I feel is the same. I'm instantly trusting. Sometimes that's a good thing and not a good thing.
And sometimes it's a bad thing, isn't it?
Sometimes that's a bad thing. But I also don't want to change that, because that level of openness, I think, helps me to get inside people and help to understand people and help them to open up, which is what I need to create. I'm going to say with them, not for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tracie, today we wanted to talk specifically about the tools of your trade. And so the obvious would be to start with brushes. There must be lots of different sorts of brushes, types of brushes, special brushes. What's your favorite?
Now, if you're talking about brand, there is no brand favorite. For me, I don't care about the brand. Sorry for brush brands out there. But you are right. There is a multitude of different types of brushes and different sizes of brushes, and the differences of what the bristles are made of. And some are soft, some are really quite hard, some are moldable, some aren't. So what are my favorite? Well, it depends on what I'm using. So just as an example, I bought a couple here. I bought a couple. This is where I've grabbed them from over there to my desk. I have some this size and some this size. Tiny little brushes. This one here is very soft and fluid. I always paint my neck to see how soft they are. It's a habit. But soft bristles are great because they, especially when your paint is a bit thinner, because it allows you to have beautiful, clean, seamless lines. So writing signatures, doing some fine work where you want that detail of an eyelash or hair or something like that, and you can really create, and it will move and flow with the paint, which I really like. If I'm wanting to smash a canvas though, which tends to happen, like I've got texture and I really go like this and I want to get in there, that would obviously be the worst brush in the world. But something like this, which has got hard bristles, is great.
Oh, right.
Because I can really smush it in and the brush stays relatively intact. I do use brushes that are in between like this, and they get destroyed over a period of time. I'm quite hard on my brushes because of the way that I paint. You can see I'm not very good at cleaning them either. But
the end's clean. That's the business part, isn't it?
Right? That's what I'm thinking too. Who cares about the handle? Handle's a good tool anyway. But the in-between brushes and a square edge or straight edge is quite good too, because if you've got texture that's quite deep, you can really use these types of brushes and really get right in, and the bristles will fray, but that's okay because it also can, it's fine. It's okay because it allows me to get paint a little bit more random as opposed to being exactly the same everywhere on the canvas. So my brushes are fun. You've got fan brushes, multiple sizes. These are really fun. You can do so much with these. You can paint skies right down to foliage on trees, you can make little dots. So there's so many different ways that you can use a fan brush, and they're really great for final smoothing out as well if the bristles are soft. This one's got hard bristles, so that's not so good for that, but it's good for creating texture as well. We've got, this is probably one of my favorite shapes and favorite bristles. It's quite soft. And the reason I like it is because it will mold with you. So you can use it, you can use it like that with the flat edge, or you can use the edge like that to blend, or if you're painting lines or whatever, you can actually squish it and mold it around. It's like you're cutting it on a wall. If anyone's ever done renovation, a cutting in brush is really great for getting a smooth edge. These things can be good for that too. I do have a tendency though to use sometimes the wrong brush for what I do,
Oh,
because I do have some favorite brushes, and they're currently being used right now, but they are they're this type of shape, a lot smaller, but they are they're a really good multi-purpose brush, and I often use them. Sometimes I'm using the size brush is way too big for what I'm trying to do, but
but it's your favorite.
It feels good, so I just change my technique.
Okay,
and I'll use them till they die.
And what's the definition of a dying brush?
Well, in my world, it'll be they might break. So I am a little bit of a lazy cleaner upper, if that's a word. I when I'm particularly immersed in painting, my studio is already starting to look like it now again. When we first started a couple of weeks ago, it was spotless.
But you've got lots on at the moment, so
stuff getting everywhere. So with my brushes, that means they sit in water sometimes for a couple of weeks, which actually is not good, but because it actually destroys all the mechanism, the metal to hold it together. So they often break, or as I said before, when I kill a brush, I destroy the shape of it. So they start to, like this one's actually, if you can see how it's starting, got that funny little shape.
I can see starting to get.
It's on its way out. And then I have the big brushes that I use, which are house painting brushes, and this is just an average size. I can use bigger for that. If I'm painting an exterior wall, of course I'll use rollers and these, but I'll also use these on canvas because they're fantastic for smooth blending and big, just really easy transitions. So you
can almost see how soft those bristles on the big brush are. They look like really they're soft.
And I'm not kidding when I before when I go to the shops to choose my brushes for my soft blending. I do literally feel it there or there, because it's soft about it. And if it's really soft, then I know that. And with the soft blending, I don't want to have, unless it's intentional, I don't want to have any brush strokes. So I find that obviously soft bristled brushes. Oh my God, say that fast.
Yes, I know. It's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, much easier to create that level of blending without any lines. So that's just the start. Brushes are one of the few things.
I was just going to say, brushes are only the tip of it, because there's lots of other things that you use to create the image that you want. And I know we were talking the other day, we talked about palette brushes, but we also talked about things like cling wrap and bubble wrap and forks and knives and fingers and toothbrushes even. And so I thought that was fascinating, because I thought that you generally had to create things with brushes. But no, Tracie's telling me there's all sorts of things to create a particular image. And then I was really fascinated about the bubble wrap, because I'm thinking of when my children were preschoolers and how they used to use bubble wrap to stamp but you use it in your paintings.
Yes, very much. Depending on the look you're going for. So let me talk about your painting for a second. In the last week that I've been playing around, when I have been creating for you, I have used sponges, brushes, fingers. I've used toothpicks and cling film on your piece. So sponges, for example, are amazing to use because they create a really almost like a moody effect. I love the movement that they create. Coming back to the thing about bubble wrap to me, the way I use it is you can use it in lots of different ways. The way I love to use it is I paint the bubble wrap randomly, and then I stamp that in various places onto the canvas. You can use it as a texture, but my preference is to use it in a stamping way, and then you can blend in the colors based on what colors you place on the bubble wrap, and it's a really funky effect. And I'm thinking
about the cling wrap would leave a very smooth surface, and then when you take it off, it gives depth.
I'll show you actually this afternoon, or see later on, but give me about an hour, guys, and if you go onto my website, you'll see some close-ups of what cling film actually does, because I love it, because so you paint a base layer first, And then, so the color you saw last week in your piece was very bright.
Yes.
And then once you've sealed that, then when you paint another layer, then you put your cling film on while that paint is wet, let it dry, peel the cling film off, and it takes away the paint. So you are left with the undercolor coming through. And it looks so funky, and it's lots of lines, and it's just it's quite abstract. But I really love the textured effect that it looks like. It feels like you've got texture, but it's actually really that's a thin layer of paint, but it feels like you've put all of this texture in. So I really like that effect. I use it a lot because, and my husband often, I did this beautiful piece of a lake, and I'd look like a boat had come through in its wake. And I finished the sky, and I did a cling film base and all these beautiful clouds that were perfectly formed. And I sort of said, oh, what do you think? He said, yeah, that's really awesome. But when are you going to finish the sky? Because it looks like you haven't finished it. Because he loves realistic work, and I don't paint realistically. So I was like, no, but that's the best bit. Like, it's just so different. So I love mixing it up, I guess, and you can have something that looks like a sky, but then you've got this random color coming through and random pattern coming through. And that's what cling film does. Yeah. So fun.
The other day, yes, and I can't wait to see. I go when I finish the show. I'll have a break, but then I'll go back on and check Tracie's website, which is TRACIE and I'll see the next of the time lapse videos that she puts up and the next stages. And if you don't get a chance to get onto Tracie's website, of course, they go up in social media as well. Tracie, the other day we were talking.
Sorry, Toni, I was just going to say, if you do go to the website, if you go to tracieeaton.com/Toni, it's got your name, Toni Lontes. So you've got your own page of.
Oh, that's really cool. The other day when we were talking, in the background of our conversation was this beautiful painting of a lady, and you'd started putting feathers on her hat as an embellishment. And I think that that's one of the most favorite things for me about your work is the hand embellishment. And I know that it takes you a long time to do, but gosh, it creates such a beautiful tactile look to the artwork. And so I'm guessing that it can be tricky if you're working with feathers.
Yes. One, they blow everywhere, first point. Oh my God, I came in even this morning to do some more work on yours, and honestly, there was just feathers all over the floor. It's like, oh, okay, we've got to clean those up first. Embellishment is great because you can, I think I alluded this to last week when I use glitters, for example. And like I said to you, also some clients, I'll use Swarovski crystal dust as well to create a real luxurious glow. But I love embellishment because a photo is beautiful. I am such a textured, I love texture. And to me, whilst a photo is beautiful, they can be quite flat. So first visually, when I look at one, I'm like, oh my God, if I could just take to that with a brush and some medium and if it needs feathers, whatever it might need, I'll some stones, depending what the painting needs, and I'll put it on. And if putting it on strategically, like let's use glitter for example, and feathers as well. You could go nuts and put it everywhere, and then it just looks like you're playing really, and you're just throwing it on. There's no real thought into it, and it's over the top. Whereas when you are embellishing strategically and you place things in a way that brings out light, it shows some shadow, whatever it might be, then all of a sudden that piece starts to look incredible. So in case of the one that I was doing with the feathers, she had this beautiful feathery looking coat, black coat. So when I first saw the photo, I was like, oh, I'm just going to put feathers on that, no problem whatsoever. And I have these moments, I'm like, yeah, no drama, that'll be fun until you start. And it is still fun. But with the instance of this piece, because of the size of the body onto the canvas, obviously it's not full length. I had to cut up the feathers. So I literally was placing each tiny, skinny little, I don't even know what you call like the part of the feather individually onto the coat and build it up and up and up to get the depth that I want. So that took me a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks great, but it takes,
and
it take a while.
I'm also thinking that with feathers, if you don't attach them correctly, then they're going to lose some of their fluffiness, because you've got to attach them in a way that they're going to stay on the painting, but then there's a fluffiness and texture to them, and you don't want that stuck down to the artwork.
Right.
So I can't imagine how long that took.
Well, we need to, in that particular case, we used a combination of PVA glue, or a multi-purpose glue for in the US, and hot glue. So with hot glue, what I could do is I could build it up and create angles so that I can stick the feather on and make it look like it's curved and create more depth that way. With the multi-purpose glue, that allows me obviously to put it in the position that I want. But you are dead right. With feathers, I don't ever stick them flat because it creates a disappointment. So you really just need to put it enough, or stick it enough that the feather is held in place, that it can still be feathery and fly around. And I can't really test that out until 24, 48 hours later, whether everything
until
is
it's dry.
And then I spray them as well, just to keep them in place.
Oh, that was my next question. Is there then a process after that that ensures the longevity of the feathers in the artwork? And yes, do you have to spray or seal or do something that keeps them? Yeah.
Every single piece that I do is sealed. My preference is using, if it's not a resin piece, my preference is the spray that I can use, either matte or satin or a shine, like high gloss. The reason that's my preference is because I don't want to run the risk of having any brush strokes whatsoever. So I can multi-layer that. It dries relatively quickly, because remembering I'm kind of impatient, so I like everything to dry as quickly as possible. Everything. And I can also use the spray to attach things like glitters and crystal dust and things as well. So once again, I can layer it up. So that's why my preference is that, if it's not resined.
Yeah. When you're working with something like glitter or crystals, are there different ways in which, like, I'm imagining that you might need, say, tweezers to strategically place crystals, whereas you might need something tiny to sprinkle where glitter's concerned? Or do you mix it in with the medium that you're using at that moment? Or does it matter?
All of the above.
All of the above.
So depending what I'm doing. So let's use resin or fluid acrylic, for example. When if it's a liquid like that, I can definitely pour the crystal or the glitters into that medium, mix it up, and then use that as the color. When it comes to bigger crystals, you're dead right, I do tend to use tweezers a lot. When I have long nails, oh my God, they're the best tool ever, because I can scratch around and I can really use them instead of a tool. I use the end of brushes. I use anything I can to position them. When it comes to I'll show you my glitter. I don't know, it's so, I'll sprinkle it. It's so fine that you couldn't,
like fairy dust.
I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. Anyway, it's so fine.
It's so fine.
So fine that you couldn't pick up one single piece. So I use my fingers to position it where I want. So I'm literally just pushing up the tiniest bit and doing a little bit at a time. And and then building it up.
Tracie, I'm guessing that the embellishment is different in the different products you use. So obviously it wouldn't work with watercolors. Maybe it would work with oils, but you mostly work with acrylics and resin, which lends itself to that embellishment placement, doesn't it?
Yes and no. Not everybody who works with acrylics uses mixed media, so essentially that's what I am. I'm a mixed media artist with acrylic as my base. Oils, they are so slow drying. They are beautiful to blend. So in terms of embellishment, I'm actually not sure, because I've never really done it, but I can't imagine that they would work the same way that I do, because it would take a lot longer. That's right. And they reactivate. You're right, with watercolors, you'd have to be careful about what types of mediums you use to embellish as well. So for me, acrylic is kind of like the best of all worlds. It dries fast. Yay. Well, even now I'm like, oh, if you look at my socials, you're like, oh my God, I'm waiting again. I've never watched paint dry as much in my life as what I do now. Because I'm like, hurry up. But it does dry quickly. So you get used to work, you have to. You can delay the drying time by using certain mediums, but I find that it removes some of the strength of the colors, so I don't like that. I love the brands that I use the most is Atelier Interactive, and it's like butter, and so it's so beautiful to work with. And then I can easily make it thicker or make it thin based using a medium that I put with it. The other one I use is Matisse Structure, which is a lot heavier. So when I'm doing more impasto work or palette knife work, you want something that's heavy. You can stick it on the canvas and it creates a peak and it sticks out. So those are the ones that I use the most. If I'm using things that are a little more fluid, then I love alcohol inks. I think they're great, but I do find that if I'm using alcohol inks, I will put a resin coat on because they can dry quite matte, and I don't enjoy that as much. So it dries it mutes some of the color, I find, for my taste. So I chuck some resin on to bring the color back out. So so alcohol inks are great, and there's so much there's also pigment powders which are beautiful, but they are like so fine. And watch this space, guys. If we were doing this right now, that if I was using bright blue, there would just be this blue
the place would be everywhere.
Yes, you inhale it. You got to be careful. It's so fine. It's gorgeous though.
Tracie, when different when those I'm thinking of the acrylics, and I'm just wondering if when you create and you've got it right, is there a change when it dries in terms of color, in terms of shape, and does it shrink, or does it generally hold its space and its color relatively for most of it?
It does change. It does dry darker, so you have to be mindful of that. And I do have a tendency to get all excited and then paint away to realize that it's going to dry darker later. So that's just one of my things. It's okay. You can always change it by just adding more light tones. If I don't find it shrinks much if you're painting it by like brushing, but if you're using fluid acrylics, that can shrink, and it can dry if you put it on too heavy. When it dries, it'll dry on the surface first, of course, and then underneath it'll still move, which can then cause it to crack. Now, I love the cracks, so I try and make that happen. So many people go, oh my God, you don't want it to crack. I'm like, yes, I so want it to crack, because then I can create and I do base colors, and you can do all sorts. So you are right, it does change. The properties of the paint does change. So you do need to be aware of that when you're painting, to make sure you get the right color time and the right effect that you're looking for.
Tracie, in the background of our interviews each week, there's this gorgeous mannequin with the blue dress on. And this week, I wanted to get the audience to see that dress in the background and take us through the process of creating wearable art, because I know that's another avenue for your art is around creating wearable art. And it's a fascinating thing to actually feel and look at, because the color is just spectacular. But all of that dress started as a piece of linen and has been effectively sculptured and colored and made into this beautiful dress. So that's a different process as well.
Well, it is. And someone actually asked me a while ago whether I liked fashion, which is why I got into wearable art. And actually it wasn't, I'm not so much of a fashionista, but what I do love is body art, body painting. And it was kind of, and I love the shapes and the forms and the fact that you're painting in a really 3D aspect as opposed to on a flat canvas. And I just adore that, because it creates so much more excitement and depth and all these little nooks and crannies that you can get into. So when I was planning my Oscars event following this last year's gifting, I really wanted to wear something that was different. And creativity for me, I mean, creativity has no bounds. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of a creative person, so why don't I paint a dress? Which meant I had to make a dress to paint it. So you're right. I went and bought a whole lot of linen, kind of drew up a picture of what was in my head about how I wanted it to look. And I purposefully chose the colors as well, because as you know, I love the whole color typology. And I wanted something that appealed to both men and women, and something that felt comfortable, like they knew it. And it's all about communication. And gold, of course, is about wealth and wisdom. And it just kind of morphed from there. So I started out with the skirt, and everything is either hot glued or hand sewn. And we just built up layers and layers and layers.
I'm laughing because Tracie told me the story about the night that she was getting into the dress. And I said, how on earth did you get into that? And she said, well, you tell the story, Tracie.
I have a tendency I said this to Toni, that I've always been told that I'm a 1-3 person. I'll come to the 1 being I have a really good idea, 3 I can see it finished, and 2 I have no idea. I don't even think about how it's going to happen. So when I was painting the dress, I made sure I got a mannequin that was the same size as my body. So I thought, oh, well, that's fine, I can fit that. So I made the corset, I made the skirt and everything all around, thinking, no problem, this is so going to fit me. Well, I failed to think about the fact that by the time I put all the layers, all of the primers, the colors, everything onto the linen, things just got tighter and tighter and stiffer with less movement. So when I went to take it off the mannequin, I was like, oh my God, this thing's not going to come off. What am I going to do? So eventually I just had to cut a tiny slit and it got it off. But you're right, the night of the show, I'd taken it with me, remembering this is super stiff. So it's kind of like when I was walking in it, it was like the parting of the seas, I guess, because everyone just had to get out of my way, because I was coming on in. But when they were dressing me, I was on my knees on the floor with like this, because I couldn't move it, and I had 3 people pulling it down, and they had to be very careful. So I had to end up cutting it even further, because I just wouldn't get over my hips, and I'm not like the biggest girl in the world anyway.
Tracie's tiny.
So we're standing there, and I was like, oh my God, there's a big gaping hole above my bum. This is not cool. I'm in front of 200 people, 100 people, 120 people. I can't have this. And the girls are like, what are we doing? I'm like, just glue it. Just so I was up there like this, like, hot glue it, please, glue me in. So they did. I was completely glued into that dress for the night, which was awesome.
Into the dress.
I was fully glued in.
And if you go onto Tracie's, going onto Tracie's site, if you're going onto your site, you can actually see Tracie wearing the dress, and it looks stunning. And it's very beautiful. I've been up close to that dress, and it's just such a beautiful, unique piece. And for anyone listening, if you've ever wanted to have something that is truly unique and bespoke, then get Tracie to paint you a wearable art, a wearable dress, a wearable pantsuit, whatever you like, you can pretty much create. But you know that it's not going to be seen anywhere else, and it's not going to be for anyone else. It's going to be completely unique.
And you're right.
And the colours you can.
Sorry, as I said, it's become a thing. I didn't expect that, but there is a lot of people who have been asking me when my next design's coming out. So, and I think it would be a really exciting thing to be able to create gowns for people who want something different and spectacular and special, like you said, that no one else has got ever. No one else is ever going to have the same. Yeah,
that's right. It reminded me when Tracie and I were having this conversation. As a teenager, I used to watch the RAQ Awards, which were fashion awards that occurred every year in the state where we are. But the wearable art section totally fascinated me. And I don't remember seeing something quite as beautiful as Tracie's dress, because it's got layers and it's quite, the bottom of it kind of spreads out a bit, and the colour is magnificent. So that's a unique idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
split all the way to the thigh, and it has a 3-meter train at the back. So it's
amazing.
quite a big gown. But what I also like about the whole wearable arts and the body art side of it, is we've talked before about how color and art makes us feel amazing. So imagine what it feels like when you're actually in it. You become part of the art, which is, it's just glorious. It feels so empowering and so special. And I know that, you know, we talk about beauty and people wanting to feel special. This process does that, because there's it's like getting a wedding dress made for you times 10, because you are it's one of, and like we use color so strategically, and I use all the products that I use in my artwork on the gowns as well, so which is why it looks so rich and so luxurious in color. So it's an acrylic piece.
I'm just thinking about I'm just thinking about Swarovski crystals embellished on a dress for a ball.
Oh my God,
like you'd just be, wouldn't it just be beautiful?
I did a bride for a photo shoot. This is about 3 years ago, and I designed the skirt, and that was all made of fabric, and then we had crystals scattered all over that dress, the skirt, and we actually body painted her bodice. So the bodice was all white embroidery, but it was all paint. And then I used crystal glitter to with hairspray, of all things, because it made it stick to her skin, to create the sheen of the bodice. And so she looked unbelievable. And when we did the photo shoot, it was in a public place, and the amount of people who would go, oh my God, that's such a beautiful dress, and then they'd look again and go, oh, wait a minute, is she body painted?
It's not.
Like, it was a body, well, the dress wasn't, but the top was. It was, it was stunning. So you're right, you can be as adventurous as you choose to be, but the point is integrating. I mean, fashion's art anyway, but when you involve someone like me as a visual artist into it, I think that we take it to a different stage.
I absolutely think that we should be seeing more wearable art on our runways and at events, because it's truly a unique thing to have and own, and know that it's specifically created for you. With the mannequin, Tracie, I'm assuming that you could work with anyone across the planet. You just need their measurements and get the mannequin the right size, and off you go.
Yeah, very much. And if we, I will, if it's smaller, obviously we'd need to get a smaller mannequin. If it's bigger, we can get mannequins in any size and shape. So, and I do like mannequins to have shape. So even though she's little, she's actually got real female curves, which is what I like. So when I'm actually wanting to buy another couple of mannequins for that reason, for the gowns I'm wanting to do next. But I've been taking my time, because I want them to look real. I want them to look like women. So if they don't, I basically create them. I pad them out with polystyrene and fabrics to give them a real shape that I'm looking for. And I do like them to have
Tracie, do you?
They don't need to have a head.
Absolutely.
I hate mannequins without heads.
Do you think that you'll get to the stage where you'll do a wearable art exhibition like you do art exhibitions?
I would love to. I have 6 gowns in my head that need to be painted or created. So I would absolutely love to do an entire runway show with different gowns. I think it would just be so fun. And I mean, creatively, it would be
That's what I was thinking. Wouldn't it be fun? Yeah.
So much. Economically, I have no idea what the demand is, and quite honestly, I wouldn't care, because this is like, it would be just amazing and be very different. I haven't seen anyone. Don't you anyone steal my idea?
No.
Just kidding.
No.
No. I think it would be incredible. In fact, that actually would be even cooler, is to have 3 or 4 different artists creating their own works and actually turning it into a real show. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for the idea.
It would be amazing. I know. That's fantastic.
Facilitate that one.
Now, I know. Now, before we run out of time again this week, we have to show the audience the
Oh, I
progress
forgot.
on the commissioned art
Yeah.
piece. Oh, yes,
I'll
go
get
on.
it. I so forgot. Sorry.
Oh,
I'll show you close up in a second.
wow.
Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can see that to begin with. That's good.
Okay, so I haven't done the water and the land. I'm really focused on the sky.
Oh,
You're right, love.
so beautiful.
I need to wait for it to dry a little bit more, and then I can add more and more detail. But I'll show you close up.
Yes.
So I'm starting
Oh,
to try
gosh,
and bring
that's
depth in. You can see,
Mhm.
and you can't see the cling film idea, but we've got lots of colours starting to come through, which is what we spoke
Yes,
about initially.
I can see pinks. Yep, I can see some
Pink,
pinks
you've
and
got
some.
coral, you've got
Yep, yep.
bronze and copper,
Yes.
white, sand, and a whole lot of blues.
It's
and a bit of green.
yeah. It's beautiful. Tracy and I have been talking about this, and every week she tells me what she's been doing and what she's been up to. And one of the things that she keeps telling me, she said it's so hard to stop. So Tracy's not done this before. Tracy normally with a project will paint until completion, but we wanted to show the progress, which is challenging for Tracy to do. So I'm really appreciative that you're stopping and showing us each and every week the progress of the commission art. And I know how hard it is because you want to keep painting, but it's just amazing to see the progress. And as we said before, Tracy each week puts up the time lapse of the progress as well as some additional photos on her website, tracieeaton.com/Toni Lontis. And I put it on my social medias and on my website as well, so that people can see the amount of work and time and effort that goes into creating a masterpiece. And each one of Tracy's artworks is an exclusive masterpiece. And it is unique. And to know that she is creating that artwork and thinking about me and my space is a really humbling experience. And for anyone listening out there that's got any interest in doing a commissioned artwork, oh my God, what are you waiting for? Jump on the phone, jump on the email and talk to Tracy. It's just the most beautiful experience. And I look at that wall now and I effectively see whatever stage Tracy is up to. That's what I see on the wall, and it just fills me with joy. And so the space where the photo is going to go is where we walk up, and it will be on the wall, the first thing that we see when we walk into the house from the back entrance, which is our main entrance, let's just face it. But it'll be the first thing I see. And every week I'm just blown away to think, oh my God, I'll be looking at that beautiful thing soon. Oh my God, I'm excited as Tracy. I'm excited to see the end as Tracy is excited to do it. So from my perspective, having never been involved in any sort of commissioning before, what a magnificent process.
Thank you.
I just, again, anyone who's thinking about wanting something really special and unique for a business, an office, a blank wall in your house, this is the way to go, because you won't see it anywhere else. No one will see it. It's yours. It's not going to be exhibited in a gallery. It's just yours. And I would never have credited it being such a fantastical experience had I not met and started working with Tracy.
And I love that word, by the way, fantastical.
I keep using it, don't I?
Good.
My husband actually says that he's going to have a dictionary of Tonyisms, because he said some of the things that you say I've never heard from anyone else before, and I'm going to have a Toni dictionary. And I'm like, yeah.
Sounds good.
I don't know, they just come to my head. So we're 3 weeks in and we have 3 weeks to go. Do you want to walk the audience through what's left Yeah, because it's quite a lot
okay,
left.
yeah, sure. So we've got lots left to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, just the ocean and the front land is still a base color. So we need to start layering up that. And what will happen is can you guys hear me if I'm right back here? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So
yes.
this horizon line will be created to be a bit darker. So I want to create the illusion of having some land in there. So we'll create different heights. So it's not perfectly smooth because I don't like straight.
Yeah.
I need to put a little bit more embellishment into the sky in terms of there is some sparkly stuff in there. You can't see it, but there is. The sky, the sand and land will now need to be painted with there'll be more browns coming through, but I still don't want it to be too realistic, so it'll still remain with some dark colours underneath. The sky needs to have another coat or two to really start to pull out some of the highlights, because I need some more depth to come through, so I need more clouds on top of what's happening. And then at the end, what I do want it to do is almost look like I've framed it by creating a darker edge that's blended in all the way around, but at the top will be brighter. So that's all I can tell you with that one. So there's about, I don't know, at the top of my head, 4 or 5 different layers to go. Yeah. So yes, you are right. Today and last night was the hardest ever for me to start.
I know. and it actually, for the audience, it's going to be a surprise, because I completely trust Tracie's artistic intuition, and she has gathered all the information from me about a whole range of things, and I'm trusting her that the end, I have no doubt that it will be spectacular, but I don't know what that end result will be. That's in Tracie's head, and that's what we're going to reveal as we keep going on this journey together. So Tracie, that whole commissioned work that you do lends itself to so many areas. And I know last week we spoke about the mural painting that you did for an outdoor cafe. But some of the other commission stuff that you do specifically is around developments and around big pieces of art. So what's the biggest piece of artwork you've ever done?
And in terms of size?
Yes.
You're talking about?
Yes.
Not including walls, because I won't count walls.
Not walls. I'm talking on canvas.
The biggest canvas would be 3 meters by, I think it was 2.1.
Wow.
It was massive.
And so you had to build the frame for that?
Yes, we built the frame.
Yeah.
We built the frame first. We actually took the frame into the clients just to make sure that it looked okay before we finalised and started stretching the canvas over. They were happy and we were happy, which is great. We did have another client who wanted one about the same size. Actually, it was 3.4. I think they wanted it because they had a huge wall, but they lived in a penthouse and we couldn't get up the lift. So we've got 2 choices. We can either, we can either crane this painting up to the 22nd floor, which would be amazing. That'll be awesome. Or we can actually make it smaller to put it in the lift, and they ended up making it smaller. It still looks amazing. But if anyone wants a painting craned up, I so want to do that. That would be cool. Yeah, because I guess when you think about, I always say that painting is joyous. I get just as much joy as I know that my clients do, because I end up with so many people who, like you said, they don't want to see the process. Actually, they just know that I'm going to create.
They just want that end. Yes,
and they smile every time they see their paintings. 3 or 4 years later,
That's
or 5 years later, they're still, oh my God, I got an email a while ago from a woman who purchased a piece of art, I'd say 13 years ago. And it was an elephant, a mum and a baby, and it was their bums, because everyone paints their trunks. I'm like, no, I'm going to do their bums. And the baby was wrapped around the mum's leg. Anyway, so my client purchased this, and the email said, I just want to thank you again for your artwork. I saw another painting and reminded me that I needed to reach out to you. she told the story about her children her kids had grown up. Her son used to carry an elephant everywhere with him. And it became woven into this. Her email was beautiful, woven into their life. And then the son, so her grandson, has just started trying to say elephant as well, because it's still part. He sees this thing, and his dad talks about it with his son. I was like, oh my God. So if art can bring that much joy to so many people, oh my God.
Absolutely.
That is incredible. You said you feel humble. I feel humbled being able to give that to people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. Tracie, do you always hang the artwork for your clients, or does it depend on the situation?
It depends on the situation. So you were talking before about developments. If there is multiple paintings, we will definitely be involved. In fact, we'll request it to do the installations. We'll get it delivered to the premises, and we'll progressively work out a installation program with their staff as well. So we'll, if not doing it, we'll be overseeing the installation of the multiple pieces. If it's for a residential home, and it's within, easily traveling distance for us, we would definitely do it. If someone in the States, you've got, if one of you guys wanted a piece, well, let's talk. I'm okay to come traveling and install the painting for you. But
absolutely.
It does depend on the situation, really. So I like to know that it's done properly, and I know that my installer,
I was just going to say,
he will install it properly.
But the other thing is too, there's something about the placement of the artwork, not just the artwork, but it's about the placement. Too high, too low, it's pretty important.
Really critical,
if you're investing, if you're investing in artwork, then the hanging of that artwork is almost equally important, isn't it, Trace?
Absolutely, because it can make or break how a room feels. And if you have multiple pieces, even if it's different artists, multiple pieces in a room or in a house, we need to make sure that how we hang them and the order with which we hang them allows the colors and the vibe and the feeling to flow. So I'm doing a commission at the moment. There's 5 pieces that I'm painting for a residential home. So we've gone through, the home has been currently built. So I've gone and actually had a look at the plans. We've had photographs. We've actually seen the layout, so we can actually make sure, one, that the paintings are the size they need to be. We paint them together so the color tone's consistent, and then absolutely we hang them. I've already said to them they'll be this side from this height from the ceiling, so they know exactly that, and we will measure that to the millimeter.
So they will be perfectly suited to them, their personality, their home, the area. Like, what an amazing way to look at artwork. And
that's why even within developments, you can do the same thing. So, I can look at what vibe they're trying to create with the hotel or the residential complex, what experience they want their guests to have, because when you're on holiday, you always create memories. It's just like working with you. The more I understand them, the more I then can create a range of pieces that work together to ensure that they are achieving their goals. So that's why I always say that the commission is helping you bring your vision to life. It's actually not my vision at all, it's yours. I'm just the conduit to make it happen, which is amazing.
It is. Tracie, we are out of time again, which I know our shows go so quickly fast every week. So Tracie, thank you once again for coming on Radio Toni.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Artwork. This is Artwork You Deserve, and we'll be back next week to update you on the progress of the commission, but also to talk to Tracie once again about another element of her work. Tracie, thank you so much for your time. Wonderful listeners, don't forget, jump on to TRACIEEATON.com. You can not only see the progress of the commission work, but you can see lots and lots of other areas that she works in, from grand scale, beautiful artwork to wall wallpapers to wearable art, and also the Hollywood collection, which I love looking at because I think it's pretty spectacular.
Thank you.
Tracie, thanks so much. We will be back again next week.
We'll
Bye for now, everyone.
See you then. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.